It's deeply concerning. There needs to be a political resolution of this conflict. The election was not one that inspired confidence in the Kenyan people, and therefore there needs to be a political arrangement, a political solution between the major opposition candidate and the president. We very much support what former Secretary General Kofi Annan is doing, and I plan to talk with him later today or tomorrow about what more the United States and others can do to support his efforts. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ann Durso Rose. I'm the Assistant Director at Malden Access Television, and I'm very glad that MATV was able to offer their resources to these two Kenyan gentlemen on my left, as well as other Kenyans in the Boston area to produce this show that is a response to the crisis that's happening in Kenya. And I guess I represent an American viewpoint, struggling to understand what's happening there. You read the headlines, and I know a little bit about the crisis, but I guess it would be helpful for our American audience to, if you could just kind of, in a nutshell, explain what the current crisis is all about.
Could you go first? You want me to go first? Well, first of all, your American audience should be very familiar with Kenya as a peaceful, very democratic country. That's how it was on the eve of until the eve of the election. Your audience should know that Kenya attracts millions of tourists all over the world, from all over the world. They come to Kenya to enjoy our beautiful seashores, to see our animals, to see our wonderful people, and very scenic views that cannot be compared to any other country. That's how your audience probably know Kenya, very democratic as well. But unfortunately, on the 27th of December, we had our general elections, and they were very heavily contested, and the results are believed to have been flawed. And the two leading candidates one candidate disputed the results, and they believe that the current president rigged himself back into power, and there was a commotion. There was a civil unrest after that, and that's what led to the way things are today. There are major political crises in Kenya that have consumed the entire nation, and we have almost 1,000 Kenyans who have been killed already.
So
Some
explain this killing. Who is doing the killing?
Well, I should say it's both sides of the political divide are fighting each other. So if you belong to the president's party or tribe and you are in the opposition stronghold, you become a victim, and vice versa. If you belong to the opposition and you happen to be in an area where the president is popular, you become a victim. So it's that kind of back and forth, killing each other. If you come to our area, we'll kill people in our area that belong to you, and vice versa.
And at the same time,
which is very unfortunate.
To add on to what Maina has said, it should be noted that in the breakdown of law and order, criminals have taken over. There are a lot of criminal activities. We have heard about a lot of raping, a lot of murders. And just like New Orleans during the Katrina, when law and order breaks, people started raping, people started looting. It's the same thing.
Or in Florida, when Al Gore and George Bush
so it's about,
were contesting.
It's about law and order, the breakdown of law and order. Because the government is not in control, and the opposition is not in control, and nobody is in control. So criminals have taken advantage. So a lot of what is going on is not actually per se ethnic hatred.
No.
It is criminals taking over and doing what they know how to do best. And at the same time, one of the things that need to be noted is that if you go to those strongholds of the opposition or the government, you meet people from other parts of the countries, and they are not harassed. The number of people that have died is significant, yes, but there are a lot of other people who were in those areas and they were not harmed, and they are not harmed. Yes, they are protected, but it tells you that people, and this is why some people blame the government, because the government could have moved in quickly and restore order. But the government, I think, did not do it in a timely fashion.
I think the government was busy defending its position that the elections were not rigged. You know.
Now,
Something
there's
like
there's a lot of Kenyans that live here in Malden, and I wonder. I don't know if you can represent their viewpoint or only represent your own viewpoint on what is happening, and how close to the situation are you? Do you have relatives that are in danger right now in that country?
Well, we can speak on behalf of the Kenyans because Kenyans have heard a lot of peace rallies around Massachusetts and all over the world, so to speak. We have seen even in the internet, you can see Kenyans in Britain, Kenyans in Australia, Kenyans in Canada, Kenyans in New York. We've had all these peace meetings. So people just want peace, and people just want to live together. But we have politicians that think that they own Kenya, from both sides, the opposition and it's a political elite that has dehumanized us to a point where we don't see the humanity in each other. But for them, they eat together, they dine together.
They play golf together.
The opposition, the head of the opposition was on the side of the government just 5 years ago.
Now, this has happened in a lot of other countries in Africa as well.
And it's true. And, these are things that can be addressed when the government is in power. They don't have to wait until the elections for them to address some of those issues. These issues are swept under the carpet throughout the term of the presidency. And then when election time comes is when, they try to discuss. We could have avoided this situation if those hostilities had been addressed previously. And
something like this seems like it must have been building for a long time.
Exactly. Underneath, there were undercurrents, and they just exploded after the results were announced.
And don't forget that we have had Kenya was a one-party dictatorship for over 30 years. And then we've just
started a multi-party.
So it's a very young.
We subscribe to multi-party systems.
Yes, it's a very young democracy, and we saw the signs. We had tribal crashes in some parts of Kenya, particularly the Rift Valley province, and we did not take those as signs of times to come in order to deal with these people, because there are political issues and there are economic issues. Land is a huge thing because Kenya predominantly is an agricultural country.
It's deeply concerning. There needs to be a political resolution of this conflict. The election was not one that inspired confidence in the Kenyan people, and therefore there needs to be a political arrangement, a political solution between the major opposition candidate and the president. We very much support what former Secretary General Kofi Annan is doing, and I plan to talk with him later today or tomorrow about what more the United States and others can do to support his efforts. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.